on the February 2026 What's Neat.
And this month we continue on with layout construction, building what is turning out to be one of the most functional and actually most beautiful 11-foot modules that I've ever built.
The What's Neat Show is sponsored by Lombard Hobbies, your value hobby shop for over 40 years of modelers helping modelers. Big inventory, value pricing, fast shipping, and great service.
And by Broadway Limited Imports, the cutting-edge leader in model trains. Check out their website at broadway-limited.com. And by Bachmann Trains. Now that's the way to run a railroad. Check out their website at bachmanntrains.com.
And thank you for helping us support the best hobby in the world.
This is What's Neat in model railroading for February 2026. I'm your host, Ken Patterson, and this month we continue on with layout construction, building what is turning out to be one of the most functional and actually most beautiful 11-foot modules that I've ever built. A lot of work has gone on to this project so far, and this month we continue on just the same and moving further along in this great project. Also this month, I am doing a photo shoot here this afternoon, and I'm setting up the models, and I want to share some neat models with you. First, I've got some F3s from Broadway Limited Imports. These are F units, just absolutely gorgeous in the Rio Grande paint scheme here. First, I've got the A unit, 5524, and that comes as an individual unit. And then there's a B unit, A unit, B unit set that they had sent me. The A unit is powered Paragon 4 sound in both of these A units, and the B unit is a dummy unit. I shot these, I show you the color photography that I've gotten from these units, and they look great in a lash up all strung together. And then this is the type of train that you would pull the old California Zephyr cars that Broadway Limited had come out with, gosh, was that 20 years ago? Those sets are gorgeous. I'm lucky to have a set of those. That was super, super detailed quality for back at the time when those came out. But these locomotives are absolutely perfect for that. Check them out on the Broadway Limited website. Now, I got something really cool from Bachmann. I was super surprised when I got these. I didn't know they were making them, but God, did these come out neat. These are really, this is the HO Scale Colorado Railcar Ultra Dome, the McKinley Explorer. And I'm not even going to begin to try to say the names on the sides of these cars, but this is the Holland American. This is where they pull up the cruise ship next to the train and undock the passengers and go take them on a tour of the beautiful mountains of Alaska in these cars. And what's really neat about them, and I'm showing you outdoor photos of these things, check out the end detail on these. Look at the window arrangement. I mean, it absolutely matches the prototype images that I've been watching on YouTube of these cars. So super impressed with these very unusual models. I've noticed that a lot of the trains are just simply pulled with Alaska motive power, Alaska Railroad motive power. So whatever you got, you can pull this train. But it's really neat from Bachmann Industries. Check them out on their website. And so with that, let me say, check out the What's Neat this week in Model Railroading show that we shoot down here pretty much every Saturday night. We've been skipping around a lot, where we keep you informed on all the current latest news in the hobby, what's going on with all the train shows around, everything. So check it out. And otherwise now, let's continue on with the rest of this February 2026 What's Neat. For this segment of What's Neat, we're going to continue construction on this project. I want to bring this to a conclusion with complete scenery. I want all the fascia wrapped around it, and I want it to otherwise look finished like the rest of the layout down here does. And so what we're gonna do as we spin around this camera here, don't get seasick, I need to put guardrails on this bridge and ballast the scene that you've seen me build previously here on the video. I'd also like to change the topography here. I got an idea of cutting a road, a dirt road, similar to what I've got on the other side of the main road on this diorama. Whereas I could have a vehicle get up to the upper end. It shouldn't be hard to do since I'm considering taking the scenery on the outside edge of this area where the siding trackages are and bringing it down 3 to 5 feet lower than the main line. So that'll be a good 1/2 of an inch or so, and it'll make for very interesting sceneries because main lines are higher and we're always thinking about where the water drainage is going to go when we start carving into the foam to make our scenery. On the other side of the diorama where it connects to Kimswick, I still would like to bring the topography up to match the modules ever so slightly, and also still possibly have room for an area to park some sort of either maintenance away equipment or locomotives on 2 tracks. I haven't decided what to do yet in this area, but I really will know more as I start carving down the scenery. Again, I want to get fascia on this. We need to cut a block control panel with 4 switches on it and a track diagram, lay it into the foam, wire it up, and then put the fascia across the top of that. That will be then contoured out for the scenery. I'm probably going to do a great amount of this work in the shop as the module is completely removable. I do like that fact. I'm probably going to put the fascia on while it's sitting here in the window area, and then for all the scenery and ballast and all that wonderful messy stuff, we'll go over into the shop. We've got an area where we can stretch this whole thing out and finish it out scenically. So let's keep on going now and see what happens as we finish this scene. It takes a long time, it seems like to me, to build a layout, and this is no different, but you get to sit through it with me, and I'm going step by step. So any tips, any tricks that you may pick up from this segment is what we're after. So here we go. Let's see what happens next. So I mentioned that I can't lay the rest of the track until I carve the topography into our nice flat piece of foam here. And I said that I wanted to make the 2 main lines be at a constant. That's my high point. And then the shoulder, the ballast shoulder will go down, it'll drop lower to this siding that I have got drawn right here on the foam. Okay? I would like this siding to be about 2 feet lower than the main line. So I'm going to use a scale ruler and measure that down. And I also need an approach. I need a feather from 0 to 2 feet down. So I'm going to do that over here in a space of about 80 scale inches or so. And on the other end where I'm going to have a turnout, I also want this piece of trackage to become lower, bringing this in to a nice 2 foot low area. Now let me show you on another part of my layout. What do I mean by that? On this section over here, I've got a level in place right here. And as you see here in this video, the main line is higher than the siding track that I've got into the weeds and into the cement. And I've got this Milwaukee level here. These tracks are super elevated, so therefore this main line is the highest. This main line is a secondary lower track, and then here is another track in the gravel which is a lot lower. And so while this diorama always looks flat, it's got some relief in it. And I've, over the years, used this old Wathers HO scale and O scale ruler. And Lombard also has these wonderful rulers. And I like the Lombard one because you can get flat to 0. Whereas this one starts out almost 1/4 of an inch before you get to 0. So let's take our ruler and measure. And I can plainly see that this is about 4 feet, 4 HO scale feet lower than the surrounding scenery. And that's the effect that I want to create over there. Again, I can count 1, 2, 3, almost 4 scale feet with this Lombard ruler. It doesn't look like 4 feet, but it sure makes a neat visual effect. And so that's what I want to do on the other side of the basement. So let's go over to the window now and let me show you how I want to do that. Okay, let me show you how I want to make this topography go down. Another tool that I like to use is this general caliper. And this also measures in HO scale feet. These are really hard to find if you can find one of those. But we're going to use that tool too, as not only is it a caliper, but on the bottom here I can measure how deep the in scale feet that rod protrudes. And we're going to use that to get our 2-foot depth for this main line. And what we're going to do quickly is I've got a cordless router here, and I'm going to set this bit up where it's literally going to be about 2 HO scale feet lower. And what that'll do is give me a constant gradient, a totally level gradient that I can then carve from and go from side to side as I widen the 2-foot area and make this whole area 2 feet. If you remember the beginning of the podcast, we run a clip where I am using a chainsaw. And the job was to copy a Robert Frischella snow shot for Chris Palomares over at Athern. And the piece of foam required 2 main lines and then a siding going to a grain elevator. And in the painting, in the artist painting, the track work gradually went down from the main line level to a lower level as it went into the grain elevator. And that was an 8-foot long piece of foam, and it was a job that we needed to do quick. I didn't use a router on that one. Actually, that's where the chainsaw clip comes from that you see opening the podcast all the time, where I'm using a Ryobi chainsaw to carve the foam down quickly, that 2 or 3 scale feet over a vast area. We were in a hurry to do the job, and it all turned out really well in the final photograph. It looked decent. I'm probably also going to use a chainsaw here when I start cutting down the topography to make it match up with the other dioramas. But because it's so important that I have a constant in this area, I want to feather the track down to the 2 feet level and then feather it back up as we proceed to the switches. In order to get there, again, I'm going to take the router, set it for 2 feet, and start carving. The final track, this siding that goes off and stubs off on the end here, that track's actually going to be lower than 2 feet. That one's going to probably be 4 feet lower. And then the road will be lower than that. Water drainage, it'll go this way in the event of rain, which is prototypical, and it'll also allow me to lower the road, helping gradually make the inclines on both ends of the module, where I plan on having roads come up to it, a lot less steep. So that's a lot of talk. Let me get started routering this. I'm going to connect a vacuum to it and actually do it right here in this spot so I don't have any mess. Okay, so with that, I've cut everything down in this area that you see where there's pink foam exposed. I set the router for about 1.5 feet. So that'll bring this main line, or the siding next to the main line, down about 1.5 feet, which would be great. I'll feather the ballast and it'll bring us into that lower track. Now the siding that sits outside, I want that one to still be lower. So I'm going to drop that one another foot and start routering the area where that trackage is going to be, allowing for graduation going down here in this area. So I'm going to start carving from about here back as the siding goes back. So what I want to do is I want to set this router just a little bit deeper. Right now she's set for, actually 1.5 feet is what it's set for. I'm going to bring it down to 2.5 feet and start routering this area. This is a very good way to get exact depths of what you want, and then we'll take the Sureform planer, and we'll clean all of this up and gradually make all blend together in what makes sense as lower trackage from the main line. All right, I know this looks like a mess, but this is a very exact way to get my topography on each track that I want. Now I've got to carve the shoulder here on the main line. The best tool to do that is a bent rasp or a straight rasp, but you need that curvature coming away from the ties. So I'm making the ballast shoulder here. And I just want to be careful not to hit the ties. You don't want to mess up your track, so be gentle on this part. There's no rush. No rush on this at all. Now, the most important thing and the hardest thing to do here is going to be able to get the transition coming from, hold on, let me adjust this camera. Getting the transition from this turnout on the main line, dropping downhill, having this turnout going downhill right here, and then running down into the lower areas here. Again, this is a foot lower than what this is. This is 1.5 to 2 feet lower than the main line is. So I'm continuing the graduation down for each piece of track. And it's gonna look really good. It's just, I'm gonna take my time on this and go slow. Okay, this is the low point of the second siding here. Okay, next to the track. This is the low point. The high point is right here. This is level. And what I need to do is make a transition now going down approximately 1.5 feet here, and I'm continuing down to 2.5 feet on the other track. How do you do that? Well, you could use a Stanley Surefarm planer, and you can do what I'm doing here and try to eyeball it. In the past, when I've made larger grades, I've put a laser level on it and angled it to the angle that I want and then carved it down. We know that works. To simplify this process, I'm going to use this Harbor Freight 17-inch body sander. It's a straight edge, it's flat, it's very gritty, like 36 grit paper, and that will give me my smooth transition to ensure there's no curve or arc in it. A straight, smooth tangent. And it's not going to take much. And just like that, I've got what I need. So I'm going to put track on this and visually look at it to see that it doesn't look too abrupt and that it's still a smooth transition, because we want this to be smooth. Otherwise, 89-foot cars, other things will have difficulty on something like this. So it's got to be perfect. So check it out. The turnout is going downhill very gradually. Everything is smooth. I love the way this looks. The transition on this area right here, also very smooth going down. No jerks, no bumps, no speed bumps, nothing to, as you curve down, I don't see any problems with the underside of 89-foot cars dragging. So that's good. I'm going to now get out the chainsaw and I'm going to start carving the topography on this end right here. As you remember, I put blocks of wood in this diorama, and I'm going to have to cross through some of those. My thought is to pry those out first before I start sawing this. That's not going to happen. I'm just going to saw it. that. Look how good. Look how good that looks. Look how quick that was. So I'll do the rest with a Stanley Sureform planer. Take the contours down. And this is a very nice transition. While I'm in the process of carving the topography, I've decided to pull up this fake fur on this portion of the layout because I really want to create some sort of a dirt road coming up along the tracks into the diorama over the window. I think that would add some interest. So I'm ripping up the fake fur that's simply liquid nailed onto the foam. And then I'm going to pull out the chainsaw again and start poking around here to see what makes sense. A lot of liquid nail. This might not be feasible because I don't want a super steep grade in here. I could build a railroad tie wall along these tracks here and have her going down. Cement wall. Something. A lot of liquid nail right there, thick. It's definitely doable. I'd have to build a bridge across the creek. Let's just do it. Let's just do this. I'll be coming uphill from the road at an angle like this. I can increase the angle. So we're going to come in from right here. Crazy. Crazy. Look at that. Looks like a mess, but this is potentially exactly what I'm looking for here. Looks good. It's looking real good. So I'm going to finish this up with files and rasps. So I'm just finishing up the contours of the ballast along the main line right here, and I'm using this bent horse rasp, and I'm being very gentle not to hit the ties. I've got everything carved out at this point. The area leading up to the road, I'm going to build a bridge right here. The road's going to run right up. You can see the cavities from the liquid nails. So all the way through, I've got all the topography carved. The next step is to seal everything with latex paint after I finish working on the ballast line and trimming this out. So let's see what happens next. We're getting really close to putting on scenery. Now that the final topography has been carved, I'm sealing everything, painting it all with a nice brown coat of latex house paint here. It helps me to see the scenery, the final carving, because it's not all pink and bright. It makes it much easier to see it. Plus, this will give me a nice painted surface now to glue the track directly onto. Another thing I want to show you is that around the bridge area, I filled in this area with the orange foam pro. It's expanding right now. It's setting up to give me some final topography in this area that seemed to have been missing, and a lot of old liquid nail I pulled out of there and the cavities I filled. So that's going to make this area stronger. I also put some underneath the plywood because there was a cavity underneath the plywood as well, due to the old liquid nails that I had used a long time ago. So that's been corrected. The fascia here has all been trimmed. It needs to be stained, and there will eventually be a bridge right here, a small bridge and a small access road running all the way the length of the module back down into Kimswick on the other end. So let me finish sealing this up, and then we can lay the last two sidings of track and start thinking about exactly what type of scenery, what color ballast, and what am I going to do on the backside for scenery. I don't know the answers to that yet. So after this, while this paint was drying, and it is all dry now, I went ahead and sprayed the rails on both sides with Rust-Oleum camouflage brown paint. And I like the paint because it doesn't have any overspray, and it doesn't stink, and it dries really quick. So I was able to do both sides by masking off the back wall and just simply spraying the tracks on both sides. So now I'm looking down the siding here, and I'm using my fingers to ever so gently use my fingers like a triangle. Gives me a pivot point with this microengineering track, so when I bend it, it holds its shape exactly the way I want it to look. I want this track to be smooth. I keep saying that over and over. And so far it looks absolutely fantastic. I've repaired this turnout right here in the foreground. I've still got to put a ground throw on it. And before I glue this down, I'm thinking I might put code 70 rail in here instead of 83 on this siding. So that's why I haven't done the final bending on this piece of track yet. I really believe I'm going to do that, so I'm going to go grab a couple pieces of code 70. I think I've got some 70 weathered laying around here somewhere, microengineering. And then what I'll do is I'll match up the code 83 and the 70 when I solder the rail joiner. I'll take my pliers and I'll pivot the rail joiner so the rail tops line up You can put code 83 and 70 together. Again, the rail tops. We said that on the bridge. We say it here. Rail tops are the most important thing. So there's no point in me actually bending this piece of track. But let me go ahead and put code 70 in here, and then I'll glue all of this down. And that's going to wrap it up for the track work. Now that I've got code 70 track where I want it right here, and everything is together and exactly where I want it to be, it's not glued down yet on this siding. I am going to solder this together. I'm using 6040 rosin core solder. And just want to touch it, get the rail joiners to be solid so that nothing will move or squirm. It'll all stay in place like a piece of stained glass. I like that. It makes everything rigid. Now this is a joint where the code 70 and 83 go together. I want to show you how I'm going to do this joint right here. It's really important to keep the rail height exactly the same. I'll zoom into that if I can. I'm going to lose it, aren't I? Right there. Let's just keep it right there. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take either a pair of pliers or a pair of tweezers. In this case, it's going to be a pair of pliers. And I want to put it just in here like this and twist it so that the top of the shorter rail matches up to the code 83, the higher rail. So the tops are what I'm concerned with. I'm going to keep that pressure on, and I'm going to hit it with a little solder. And what we'll end up with okay, we'll let it go. And if you look, the rail height is exactly the same through here. Look at that, smooth, and here's when it's not. So that's what we want. I'm going to do that to both of these. Same process. I'm going to lift up the shorter rail, push down the higher rail, and they match. Put a little solder on my tip already. And just like that, we've got code 70 and 83 rail heights match. Just like that. So I'm going to go along. I've got 2 more joints to do, and then upon completing that, I'm going to glue this track into place. And I could either put in blocks at that point or start the scenery, start the ballast and what have you, because it's almost ready. For those of you that have been watching the What's Neat videos for years, there used to be a time in the old days, I want to say around 2015, or I would say, hey, what is Ken Patterson doing at 3 o'clock in the morning? And we'd be out doing a photo shoot or something kind of cool. Well, today at 3 o'clock in the morning, as the house is quiet, it's really cold outside, I'm using a combination of gray paint and black paint. Very light gray paint. This is Crafts Paints from Walmart. And I'm painting each tie on our entire scene one by one, alternating with the same brush between the black and the gray, and of course with the earth brown Rust-Oleum camouflage paint that I sprayed the rails with. It gives you a nice variation of tie color when you put on the final ballast. There's something kind of therapeutic about it, but it looks decent. It looks really good, so I'm going to do that throughout the entire diorama. I did some initial carving on the end of the diorama down here, Just wanted to create the area where the road's going to transition down to a track area up where I think I'm going to park some locomotives right here. I've got these 2 tracks, and it's a perfect little siding that's just long enough for engines. So I was painting this area with some latex paint, the brown color, just so I can see what this carving looked like, just to get an idea for it. It's easier to look at it when it's brown than when it's pink. Using the DAP Ultra Clear adhesive, I squeezed out a good amount onto a piece of plywood, creating a palette. And I used a painter's knife, and I slowly lifted each section of track in this area and applied the glue, kind of like butter or peanut butter, and it dries clear and it can be painted and our ballast will stick to it. I was very careful to keep it away from the moving parts of the turnouts and the throw bars and what have you. You don't want this sticking there. I took a little time to replace some of the missing railroad ties that I cut out in between all of the track sections. I painted the shiny Code 83 rail with the Rust-Oleum Earth Brown paint. I used masking tape over the turnout's points so I wouldn't get those covered up with the paint. And I used, of course, a piece of plywood to keep it off the blinds in the background, and I did paint it on both sides. After the paint dried, I cleaned off the rail tops, and I like to use 150 grit sandpaper, and then I like to follow that up with a Bright Boy. I also built up a wooden railroad crossing where I plan to have a road, a kind of a service road that's going to be crossing these tracks, otherwise known as a fun place to drive cars. And I did this by filling in the track area with a flood of Elmer's wood glue. I love doing this. It looks ridiculous. Then I placed each wooden scale tie. I've got some Kapler ties, and I placed each one of the ties one by one, getting my fingers all gross, creating this flat surface that our cars would be able to drive across. Again, it's a messy process. I used a fine-tooth saw to cut the sides of these ties because they were kind of staggered, like bricks. So they stuck out on the ends further than the width of the road. So I used this diamond file, this fine saw to cut that. And then I used a sander to cut down the ties, sanding them smooth on top down to the level of the rail. Now this will create an even crossing for vehicles and allow trains and couplers and things like that to clear. So upon vacuuming up the area, it revealed our beautiful wooden surface, which then I took a 6-inch hacksaw blade, and I cut this in half, right? And on the end of it, I created like a chisel, like a knife. And I've been using this one hacksaw blade for years to clear the flangeways on railroad crossings just like this. And I also use it on making my cement areas that I like to have the trains drive across a cement platform. But yeah, this works out really, really well. And you've got to clear out those flangeways so that, the cars are going to go through there perfect. So after doing that, I did stain the whole area with black walnut stain. Now, on the other end of the diorama, I used a hot foam wire cutter where this engine house is, not really an engine house, but a place to park engines is going to go. And I cut out an area to create a base so that I could put in a piece of 1/4-inch plywood. I used Great Stuff foam. That's going to act as the adhesive for this wood base. When the plywood is in place and level with the tracks are simply going to rest on top of this wood. And then I'm going to apply some that clear DAP cement that I like to use for making roads. It's not clear, it's just regular patching cement. It comes in a gallon container or a quart. And you've seen me make roads with this. And so that's going to go over the top of this plywood surface, and I'll make the cement even with the top of the rails, creating a really neat place to park some locomotives. I used levels and weights to make sure that this wooden base, sub-base that we're building, would not move, would not get out of position as the Great Stuff foam expanded and cured. I also used a little bit of craft paint because I wanted to be able to visualize where I think I'm going to put roads on the layout. I want service roads. I want area where there's access to see and get to the trains with vehicles. And so let me show you now, after all those steps, where I'm at and what this kind of looks like. It's gonna look dynamite after these ties get painted various different shades. But see, here's that 2-track siding, and here is the wood in place. It's level, it's painted gray. The road coming down here is decent, and it matches up with the adjoining module. So I'm probably going to take this road and make it wider and make it all match up with that cement, patching mix cement that I like to use. And I've got some railroad ties here. Maybe I'll build a railroad tie wall and create an area for the service trucks to be parked. You know, they get out of their truck, get in a locomotive, and go switch somewhere. But otherwise, all in all, the diorama so far is looking really good. It still needs blocks in it really bad. I need all these roads to become cement and or dirt. The railroad crossing looks fantastic. Where it joins up with the bridge down there. All this track work is so smooth. It's literally bulletproof and derail proof. And this thing's gonna look fantastic when I eventually get the wooden sides on it. So at this point, I want to say we're going to end this segment for the February's What's Neat. A lot of work to go, but I've gotten so much work done down here, and it's been really fun having you guys all hang out. I love reading readers' comments on layout construction segments. My way of doing things isn't the only way, but I can tell you what I do down here. So far, so good. It's looking good, and it's working. So with that ends this segment for What's Neat.
All of the products seen on this episode of What's Neat are available from Lombard Hobbies in Lombard, Illinois, or order online at lombardhobby.com. Broadway Limited Imports, the cutting-edge leader in model trains. Check out their website at broadway-limited.com. Bachmann Trains. Now that's the way to run a railroad. Check out their website at bachmanntrains.com.